Do you have something special to offer? Sure you do, and so do our guests, and they'll share their special something in just a moment.
You've got something to offer, something that's new, something to offer, and that something is...
Welcome to Something to Offer, the show that spotlights people living their dreams and making a difference. And now the host of our show, Anne Marie Offer.
You've got a vision, you persevere, you keep on trying.
Hi, welcome to Something to Offer. Today we're in the kitchen, so to speak, with two women who use food and its preparation to help us learn to heal ourselves, feel good about ourselves, and they use it in education as well. And through good eating, we can feel good and have great lives. We have nutritionist and host of Health's Kitchen, Sylvia Burnett-Elbaz, and we have culinary consultant, Lisa Beatrice Jones. I have so many names to say that I'm getting very excited here. So I'm very happy to have both these women, and I have a question right away for both of you. I want to know what your first food or kitchen memory is and what that was like.
Want to go?
Oh, the worst. The food memory, I mean, I was just the worst eater. Kitchen memory was a little different because my mom was a big entertainer and was really, I mean, cookies and pies and cakes and everything. And so hanging around the kitchen meant licking the pot, you know, and the bowl and everything. So the kitchen was a lot of fun, you know, but I was the worst eater. I don't really have any good, you know, food memories to speak of until I grew up and was taken out on dates and was taken to restaurants. That I have good memories of that.
Okay, how about you?
Oh God, my mother was just a whiz in the kitchen. So I used to hang around with her, and her rule of thumb was, one, you couldn't eat something and say you didn't like it for the first time. You had to eat it at least twice, because the first time maybe someone, you know, didn't do it right or they didn't know what they were doing. Two, that you couldn't put any condiments on anything until you tasted it first. So, you know, and she was very much let's say a disciplinarian in that way. So we just always had an odyssey, and her father was from Argentina, and he was a chef there. And so we never knew what we were going to come home and eat. You know, one day it's, you know, hamburgers, the next day it's arroz con pollo, the next day it's, you know, German sausage. So we never knew what we were going to eat. So every day was like, you know, something, you know.
An adventure.
Yeah, you know, so.
That's great. What about, when did you first pick up a spoon or a spatula? Do you remember what you first made? Ever as a kid or whenever? Stump the stars here.
Well, for me, it was, I remember there was a comedy show with the late Freddie Prinze, and I figured it was going to be a family night. So I figured, okay, I'm going to make, you know, spaghetti and shells. And I didn't realize that you had to, like, cook the shells. So I put the shells in water for like 5 or 6 minutes, and they were still crunchy. But I thought, well, you know, you didn't have to cook it. And I served them, and I didn't realize that you had to really cook a tomato sauce. So I served the shells with a tomato sauce and, you know, happily served it to my family. And only out of love that they, you know, managed to eat a couple of bites and just, you know, stopped. But that's when I realized that, you know, I think I need a little more time, you know, in the kitchen.
That reminds me of something. It didn't quite happen to me because my mom was, you know, like, go away, don't bother me, you know, that sort of thing. So all we got to do was like stir maybe the chocolate pudding. But so because of that, I, you know, tried to get my kids, you know, encouraged, and they're boys, you know, interested in cooking and so forth. And one day when I was at work and I call up my son, tell me he's baking bread. Now, how cold could he have been? Maybe 10 or 12 or something like that. And I come home and there's this marvelous aroma of baking bread. Oh, it's wonderful. But I was figuring, how did it get in the oven so fast, you know? And I thought to myself, uh-oh, something's wrong. And I took a look, and there was like this cement brick. Because he didn't know, I mean, he mixed all the yeast. You're supposed to let it rise.
Right.
He never let it rise, you know.
Oh.
And again, because with my son, I try to chop it and eat it. You know?
So cute.
I'm just happy we had a dog myself.
That's great. We're going to take a moment for an offering, and when we come back, these ladies are going to share what's cooking in their kitchens. So we'll be back in a minute. You won't want to miss it. We're back, and now I'm going to speak with Sylvia. And Sylvia, it's a recognizable face, I'm sure, to many of you. She's been on our show once before. We've had the privilege, but since that time, her show has been picked up by WNYC, and she's also seen in Chicago, and we'll speak about that in a little while. But Sylvia, I wanted to first get into what prompted a career choice, or what was the evolution in becoming a nutritionist and the desire to do that? How did that all evolve for you?
Well, when the kids went off to college, and I thought, well, now life begins, and I can enjoy myself, but I thought, if I don't do something to prepare for a future, I will regret it later. And even though I didn't want to, I went back to school for another master's, and I considered many different things because I had done music and I had done recreation. I like folk dancing, which is how I got interested in international foods. And so, thinking all the different things, I decided on nutrition because I thought it was a growing field. And I thought the others, it wasn't that interesting, So I went back to get my master's at University of Bridgeport in 1979, 80. I think I got the master's in 81. It was, because I already had I had an undergraduate degree in biology, so I had the qualifications for that. And then I started doing part-time, and then when I retired from teaching, I'm busier now than when I was teaching. So then I started doing the consultations, but the thing that was so frustrating is, you tell people what to eat, and they'd say, well, what's that? Kuzu, wakame, So you'd have to show them, and then they wouldn't know, where to buy it or what to do, and then if they had it, what to do with it. So I ended up giving people cooking lessons because if they don't know how to put it on the table, what good is the nutritional information? So one thing led to another, and that's
here
from
you
there.
are.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about when you first were on this show. You had just your program was just starting to be aired. You had produced a few of them, and from that you went. You've been extremely successful. I wanted you to talk a little bit about that process. I mean, you were on public access, and now you're on actually public television, WNYC, which is a much bigger and broader network. So I wonder if you could tell us how it's evolved and what's happening with the show.
Oh, well, what's so exciting, as I say, when the program started on WNYC, was getting fan mail from upstate New York and New Jersey and Long Island. And I said, people are watching this, I mean, I did get some fan mail before, but to get it from, away from the city. And it was really interesting. To me, it was wonderful winning an award, but to me, the most exciting thing was one letter that I got that said, I didn't like your program when I first watched it, but now I watch it all the time and I've learned so much from it. And to me, this is really why I did this, because I was trying to teach people something. I mean, usually I expect someone to write to me, if they're already into health foods and so forth. I kind of expect that. But to be able to change somebody's attitude towards food. So I said, this is really why. This is really the answer why I did all this. But I mean, we started off very primitively with I think a camcorder or something, and then the first show has never been aired because when we took a look at it, I said, oh no, this will never do. And so finally, when we got up to about, I think it was show number 13, I said, you know what? I said, let's do the first one over, because we got better as we went along. I mean, the cameras, and it got a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do that they don't do on other shows, because I mean, as a teacher, I want people to learn. So as ingredients come on the screen, I have them flashed across, so it's not at the end of the program where you try to copy down a recipe.
Right.
So really, if you sit there with a pencil and paper, you can get everything down.
As you're watching.
You don't have to run out and buy the book, which which I have to write anyhow, but in the meantime, you can get it from the program. So that's an innovative thing too, and lots of things. One in particular about, I don't like on most cooking shows where they prepare something and then they pull it out, something from the oven, they say, well, this we made before, And I figure, wait a minute, I could do that too, but I didn't want to. So what we do is we put in the oven, and what you
come
see
back
is
and
what
shoot
you
later.
get. It's the same, So
you do a lot of editing on your show afterwards.
Yeah, we have to do the editing, but I would really rather, do it that way so that people say, gee, it really works. It's not that they had a whole crew, you know, preparing.
Or somebody else made it and delivered it to you.
Right. You can trust us. And trust the crew because they eat it afterwards.
And can you tell us a little bit about what was the process? How did you move from being on, you know, local access to being on a much bigger public television station? Was that a difficult
Well, I
thing?
tried. You know, I've been trying. I wanted to go all over, you know.
Of course.
So I had a discussion with the program director at WNYC, and they wanted a certain, you know, technical quality and the tape and so forth. So I had done my homework, and I quoted 3 or 4 different programs that didn't have the quality of tape that I have, and I said, you've got those on the air. So they said, well, all right, we'll try it and we'll see. And people have been calling WNYC asking for my number and so forth. So since they're getting such a good response, they kept it on, and now they're kind of proud of it.
It's great.
But I had to really, you know, argue about it, and I'm still struggling to try to get, you know, more distribution and so forth. So we need to up the
ante, as they say.
Up the ante,
That's
and
great.
get commercial, you know, equipment and so forth.
We're going to look at a clip in a second, but I wanted to talk. Is the format basically, is it a half hour? Is it an hour
It's a
show?
half hour.
It's a half hour show, and it's strictly you in the kitchen cooking.
So far.
So far.
So far.
Okay, so why don't we look, you brought us a little clip, so we'll look at a clip of the show, and I'm excited.
So remember, this was with the barley malt. Barley malt is less sweet than the rice syrup or the maple syrup. So this is not a sweet, here's our toasted coconut, sweet dessert. But actually, your desire for sweets really depends on what else you're eating. Because if you eat dense proteins like meat and fish and eggs, they immediately create a desire to have something to balance that out, which would be either a glass of wine with your meat or apple pie after that. But if you have a more middle-of-the-road protein, legumes and things like that, you're not going to have such a desire for the sweets, particularly if you're eating a lot of vegetables, which have basically a lot of sugars in them. So it's what else you eat that creates the desire for the sweets. So many of the times, I mean, people say, oh, I can't stay away from the sweets, I can't. But if you change the basic part of your diet, definitely you'll be able to do that.
Sylvia, that is just so great. I mean, you have such a wonderful, warm, embracing kind of presence. I felt like, well, I'm just sitting on the other side, and she's telling me how to cook this, and it's really wonderful.
Well, that's the one thing I did learn from my mom, because I said she was a big entertainer, and she always made, I guess, a career out of pleasing people, and so that if she knew what a favorite dish was, she would be sure to make it. So going to her for dinner was like going to a restaurant, because she'd have, you know, 5 or 6 different main courses depending on which everybody's favorite was. So I did grow up with that kind of attitude, that it's really important to please people and to make them happy with the food, that attitude.
Well, I know something that made you very happy, and we only have about a minute left of this segment, so I want to ask, you won a Hometown Video Award, which is given to producers of video programs like yours and like mine, and what was that like, and how did that feel?
Oh, that was very exciting. It was really, really exciting. I mean, you know, I had to fill out all the papers and send it in, and I thought, oh, I don't know about this, you know, and then I heard I was a finalist, and I said, well, gee, maybe something's going to happen, you know, and then they said, well, we're going off to Boston, you know, and I was at this awards ceremony, which was in Faneuil Hall in Boston.
Oh, great!
And with all the other, you know, national award winners, and then there was a party afterwards, and getting to meet people, and it was just a really, really exciting experience. You know, I was just really proud of that.
That's really
great.
great.
So now I could say it's an award-winning show.
Yeah, and well, we can tell it's award-winning just by what we see here, but that's great. And really quickly, I hear you're hot in Chicago. How does that make you feel?
Well, what was interesting, see, in New York you have public access, but they have something else, which, I forget what they call it, origination or something, where the cable company has their own program.
Right.
So when I first sent it out to Chicago, the public access there, they thought it was so good that they put it on the origination channel. I didn't even know what that was, because we don't have it in New York, unfortunately. So I started getting fan mail from Chicago.
That's great. We're going to move on, if that's okay. We're going to come back in a little while.
Please.
We're going to take another offering, and when we come back, we're actually going to be in a kitchen and watch Lisa cook something for us. So come back, all right? Thanks. Hey, we're back now, and we're with culinary consultant Lisa Beatrice Jones, and this is the first time we've done like a real cooking segment on the show. So I'm going to interview Lisa why we do the cooking, and I'm so like overwhelmed, but this is very cool. Lisa, I want to ask you, did you wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to be a culinary artist or a culinary consultant, or what happened?
Well, as you know what, as I'm speaking to you, I'm gonna, just
yeah, you can
chop
interject
away.
with the food. She's making something with eggplant.
I think what first started to happen is that I said, well, I like cooking. It's legal. I was in college, and why not? So it really wasn't one of these like wonderful, things in the middle of the night. It just hit me because I was always surrounded, as I was saying to you earlier, with such wonderful food that, it was sort of like a natural step. I used to write telemarketing scripts, excuse me, I used to write telemarketing scripts to support myself through college. And I said, okay, well, one day let me just change over to food. So that's really how it, started.
Mm-hmm. And when you said, oh, let me change over to food, what was the process? Did you go to cooking school?
I did a lot of
school?
apprenticeships. I went to the New York Restaurant School, a shameless plug. And I took their weekend apprenticeship program, and I just started cooking, and I started doing apprenticeships at like the Copacabana and other places. So at some point it just sort of naturally came about, and I started to get more calls about private work and a lot of freelance work. So it just sort of worked out.
Okay, before I ask you more personal questions,
Sure.
you just did garlic. What is this?
This is basil.
Basil,
and
fresh basil.
The whole crux of what I do now, I do a lot of consulting in terms of with health associations and dealing with audiences like senior citizens and children. I just did the Great American Munch Out with the American Cancer Society for a few years. And it's basically, as Sylvia was saying earlier, dealing with people and their food issues and their likes and really pleasing them, but also realizing food is and cooking is a convenience issue for a lot of people.
Right.
They may love to eat but not love to cook, or love to cook, don't have the time,
Right.
but have to eat a certain way.
Right.
So a lot of my private clientele is based on that. So what I'm going to do
boiling?
today,
I gotta just
this is just
can we do
boiling
this
away.
now?
Yes, I promise you it would be 10 minutes.
Okay, what do we do?
What we're going to do is we're going to make a chicken with a basil and eggplant over couscous. And I'm
Okay.
going to use products that you can buy right in the supermarket. So I'm not going to measure right now, but rule of thumb is for every,
Should I stir that?
sure,
Yeah.
for
Okay,
every
good.
1 cup of rice, it's 2 cups of water. In couscous, it's a little less because it's actually a pasta. So I'm just actually going to dump the whole thing in.
I hope it cooks in time. If not,
It will.
you got the idea.
We get the idea, right? You get the gist.
5 minutes.
And just to, actually, let me put this here, and just to sort of add a little bit of spice. Now, a lot of people have issues with salt and fat, so what I do is I use, from the health food store, a brand of bouillon, which is very low sodium and is made from dried vegetables.
Vegan-based.
Yeah.
Vegan-based. Great.
So I just put a little in.
I'd like to get some of that.
Yep, I just put a little in.
It's organic sodium.
Yes. So that's usually like sea
Sea
kelp,
salt
yeah,
and
sea
kelp,
salt,
yeah.
sea
What do you call it?
salt,
Seaweed.
all that other good stuff.
So, did you just like say, well, I'd like, you were the chef for Dinkin, so is that like something you set your sight on, or was that a serendipitous kind of?
Yeah, in a sense, what had happened was that I was doing something, I was working on a project with someone who was the administrator. And one day he asked me if I wanted to just substitute for a day because he couldn't make it. And while I
Do you want me
became
to
part
cut
of the
anything
staff. So what had happened is that because I'd had a background in a lot of health foods, I'm just putting the basil and the garlic over here.
Okay.
It sort of worked out well.
Whoa.
Whoops. See, just like in a real life kitchen. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I'm just going to cut that off for a minute.
Okay.
Now, and that's really how that started. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut up the eggplant. And you know what, I'm not going to use all of it.
Yeah, good idea.
I'm not going to use all
I
of it.
love eggplant. Now, so what was that experience like? What
was
kind of
wonderful.
demands were there on?
There were, actually, it was one of the most interesting, fascinating experiences I'll ever have to date, or have to date. It was an experience that, how would I say, you don't think you'd get, and then all of a sudden you did. Luckily, I was referred.
You rose to the occasion.
I rose to the occasion. It was very interesting. I mean, one day you're having a dignitary, the next day it's a family, it's always the family, then someone else. So it was never dull.
Do you have to put that on again by any chance, the
No.
heat?
We're probably just going to
Whoa,
let
it's
it cook
almost,
down.
yeah.
It's almost done. We're just
Whoa.
going to leave that off.
Pretty quick, that
Yep.
couscous stuff.
Yep. So that's was really how it was for me, and they were a wonderful family, and I was just very fortunate that I was there at the time.
I wanted to also ask, you were very instrumental, key force in several different programs in the city and throughout the country. One specifically with involved the high school students at Park West, in the culinary school, doing some research and also trying to figure out exactly why they weren't being placed in eateries. And you made a lot of impact there. You also have done, you've done team groups in teaching them how to eat correctly, and many different projects. So I wondered if you wanted to, kind of enumerate on them a little bit and tell us a little bit about some of those projects.
Well, one of the proudest ones, or the one that I'm most proud of, so to speak, I'm just going to put this over here for now, was actually the project with the teenagers. What that entailed was I was working for a organization, just a little bit. This is our little garlic oil.
Really garlic, and I
Yeah,
love
very
garlic.
garlicky. This is a gourmet oil by a friend of mine who puts out a line of sauces called Golden Whisk, and she really just did a wonderful job. I don't really like to cook with too much oil, so this is like about a tablespoon. So that should do us pretty well. So that project, as I was saying, with the teenagers, what that entailed was I was working with Community Food Resource Center that does a lot of food and hunger advocacy kind of issues. Whoops.
Whoa, hello.
Just like a real kitchen. And what that had done was that they had worked with the Diamond Foundation. And the Diamond Foundation put out a lot of money for research and grants for also AIDS, but also for just education. And they wanted to find out why minority students in particular were not getting work, or was there an issue as far as problematic as getting work in terms of training in the New York City hospitality industry.
Okay.
So
We have about
that's
5
what-
minutes left total, so we gotta keep going.
Okay.
So then, what'd you do with them?
So then, what I did is I went out to a lot of the restaurants, and I was also working with Mayor Dinkins at the time, and I just asked why, and a lot of it was lack of training on the end of the part of the schools, and so we just started a training program. The program was already started. It was about to go defunct. I took it over from the person who was handling it, who had left. And we went on to win an award from the chancellor. We actually got about 30 jobs and more, and it's still ongoing, so I'm very proud of it.
That's great. When does the chicken go in? Not yet, huh?
Okay, not yet. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just seasoning the sauce. The meat that I'm going to use, which I hope we get a chance to see, is just turkey. So that's going to take
Right.
about 2 to 3, maybe
Yeah, we'll
tops
see
4
if we
minutes.
can, they may be
Yeah.
watching it on the way out.
Yeah, on the way out, so we're okay. But if we weren't sort of having this wonderful dialogue, this would probably take about maybe 5-10 minutes. Now again, in terms of convenience products, this is a product that's just chopped tomatoes in an aseptic packaging. So it's just chopping the tomatoes, putting it in this packaging, and it's done. So, oops, by that time that you would have to do all these wonderful chopping and seeding and peeling, it's already done. And I didn't put out in a little bowl, so you'll see. You'll see exactly how it is as it comes out of the package. So,
And then
this-
you just stick the turkey right on in there and cook it, or do you
We
do that
could.
Or do you do it separately? don't
you
it
can do
separately.
it, yeah, you can do it separately, or if you stick it in, it may not be as wonderful as you'd like. So, and if you give that a couple of minutes, that would pretty much a done sauce. So, and then the turkey takes about 3 minutes, so you can actually have a meal in 10 minutes. And for the large amount of the greater amount of the clients that I work with, that's a factor. You
The
know, so-
time factor.
The time factor.
Right.
So,
Well, that's great. So are you going to do the turkey or not going to do the turkey?
I'm going to do the turkey
Okay.
as soon as this is done in 1 minute. Just also want to check on the couscous.
That's done, right?
Yep, couscous is done.
Okay. So, you know, you do a lot of writing too now, right? You write
Yeah,
a lot of
I've been-
articles,
yeah.
and you're getting ready to be on the internet.
Yes.
You're prepping for that.
Yes.
What's that all like? Is that a great experience?
Well, the internet sort of came about in a way that was unusual. Someone from a food company had called me and said, "There's this, project, and here's it going,
We got
and
2 minutes.
here it
Can
is."
you
So,
put the chicken in? The turkey in?
so
Or no? I'm not
Okay.
rushing you too much because we only
just a
have 2
little bit.
minutes left. Sorry.
So I was actually referred to the internet, and that's going to go on sometime this year.
Cool.
So.
All right.
okay.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask Sylvia to come down while you're finishing up so we can talk a little bit together.
Sure.
Because I know that you get reference from a lot of nutritionists.
Absolutely.
That's the way the work
It's
goes.
people- yeah,
and
people
like a
like Sylvia.
nutritionist like Sylvia. And I wanted to know how you guys evaluate clients and figure out what exactly to make and do for the clients. In terms of food, and how do you evaluate a person as to what they need to eat nutritionally?
Well, everybody's an individual.
That's right.
And assessment is really the most important thing.
And how do you guys go
Absolutely.
about that?
Well, I use a system called contact reflex analysis to see what's wrong with someone, and then I have to really look at them individually. Blood types influence what you can digest because some people can be vegetarians and some people simply cannot be. So you really have to go about it individually. The problem is when you're doing something for a group, because for example, one of the things I do, I'm the nutritional consultant for Hale House. So
Oh,
that's,
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
We have 1
that's
minute.
a group of babies, and so I have to make such a varied menu
Right.
so that if there's a problem for something, it won't get repeated. So they have an international gourmet menu, and sometimes there are certain
Smells
things, like
great.
for example, if a child can't digest eggs, we have to get use tofu or a lot of replacement things. So it's very tricky. You got to know a lot.
This looks great. I think we're going to look at this that way. Wanted to ask both of you, what are who inspires you or influences you to do what you do, or what's your future plans? What's your ultimate goal? Either one of those questions would be great if you could answer.
Well, I know one of the things that my motto is, beat the high cost of healthcare by staying well.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really want to try to do, is to get people to change before they get into a crisis situation where they have to run to the doctor. That's the future that I'm trying to do.
Great.
And I think what Lisa and I are doing in terms of education is
It's
really
crucial.
along that
It's very
line.
crucial. Anything real quick, Lisa? We're wrapping up.
Well, for me, it was I had created the Recipe for Prevention program, and that had also stemmed with people like Sylvia, who's a very special nutritionist who had an interest in food besides the practical end.
All right. Well, I wish we had like an hour, but we don't. So I want to thank you. This looks gorgeous. We'll eat it. We'll let our crew eat it. And thank you so much. Come back next week. Thank you. This
Thank
looks
you.
great. It smells great.
Thank you.
We would like to thank Putumayos, located in Soho, for Miss Offer's wardrobe, and Echo Videotape for helping to make this show possible. And we would especially like to thank you for watching. I'm Jeannie Devlin. We look forward to having you with us next week. And in the meantime, remember, the world needs what you have to offer.